Hey guys, welcome to a Saturday edition of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So let's see, what is it? It's like 5 o'clock. I've been here since 8. I'm ready to go home. Got a few things done. Let me go in more or less chronological order here. So this bus, I've been waiting on 2 more AN fittings for the oil system. So one right angle one that goes at the cooler, external cooler, which is mounted up there, and the other one for the return to the case, which was a 45 that goes, let's see here. You can see it from here. There it is, right there. Anyway, so I was waiting for those last 2 fittings and then finished cutting that hose and the other one to length. And then at that point, went ahead and fastened the entire loop of the oil system. So again, there's a external filter kind of up underneath there, comes out of the motor, goes to that, leaves that filter, runs up to about there-ish, goes through a little C-trab cooler with a fan on it, comes all the way back, and then enters the motor back where I just pointed at. So lots of plumbing for the oil system, and lots of securing the hoses so they're not like flopping around driving the owner crazy when he's driving this thing, because I don't know about him, but it drives me crazy when I hear something like knocking or banging around on a car. Not acceptable. So spent a decent amount of time going in making sure that the lines were secure anywhere they would run over or near something, with a combination of clamps and zip ties and all the tricks of the trade we have available for us here. But yeah, so shouldn't have any flopping around of oil lines, and I had done that previously with the air conditioning line. So yeah, this thing has big ass hoses running all over it. The air conditioning system, external oil cooler, and oil filter. But anyway, they're all secure. So yeah, I spent I don't know, maybe a couple hours or so actually finishing up routing those lines and cutting them to length and putting the ends on and all that good stuff, making sure it's all dialed in so that when the motor goes back in, pretty much just connecting the lines on the motor. So that was the first thing that I did. And then a little later, this guy, who those of you that are regulars around here all know this guy, and probably happy to see it again because it's gorgeous. Anyway, came in for a couple relatively small things. See, I'm pretty packed in here right now, so let me walk around. One of which was we had a paint issue going on the door right here. So we took care of that, and it's sprayed with automotive grade primer, of course. Let that sit for a couple days, and then Monday our painter will come in and blend that in, and you'll never know it was there. So that was one thing. The other thing was that he's got an issue with his fuel gauge, and I don't remember it being like that when we sent the bus off, but it says it's full, and guess what? It was empty. So the poor owner was driving the bus over here for us to take care of this, and then redo the brakes, which I'll mention in a minute. And the car stalled on him, and it kind of like sputtered and stopped it. He couldn't get started again. So anyway, we had it towed over here, and the engine builder, Brian Roth, came over, and he built and installed the engine. So I was like, I don't want to touch the engine. It's his deal. And I don't mean that in a bad way, just that like, if something had happened with the motor, I don't want to go and start effing around with it and potentially make it worse. So I was like, let me let him diagnose it. So he came over, and he thought it was the fuel pump because it sounded super loud, and he's had those type of fuel pumps do that before when they've gone out. So replaced the fuel pump, and the new one was super loud, and so finally we put some gas in it, and then the fuel pump got quiet like it should, and lo and behold, the car started. So kind of a unfortunate false diagnosis there about it being the fuel pump, but again, in his experience, he had seen him go bad and make all that racket like that. So that was kind of where his mind went. But in reality, the issue is the fuel gauge is just sitting on full and apparently it was empty. So we got to diagnose that. I'm hoping that it's not the actual sender, because those of you that know buses know that to get that fuel sender out of the tank, you got to pull the motor. And I don't have to go into detail why I don't really want to do that. But yeah, so hopefully it's the gauge or something easily accessible. Maybe the ground on the gauge that can cause some issues. Anyway, so we got to diagnose that. And then the last thing I mentioned earlier was the brakes. The brakes are just not really performing the way they should. And I'm afraid that they may have got glazed or something, in which case they'll never really break in. So I went ahead and ordered new brake pads for all 4 wheels. And then I'll probably have his rotors also machined very lightly just to put a brand new surface on them. So we'll have new pads, new surfaces on the rotors, put it back together, and then do a proper break-in procedure, you know, where you get them good and hot, let them cool down, get them hot, kind of heat cycle them like that. So I'll go through that procedure. And then I think his brakes are going to be awesome like they should. 4-wheel disc brakes, pretty huge calipers on the back, and calipers with e-brake provisions on, or excuse me, big ass calipers on the front, and on the back calipers that also have provision for an e-brake. So yeah, we'll solve that. But yeah, in addition, now we've got to figure out what's going on with this fuel gauge, because we can't have the poor guy running around running out of gas because his gauge always tells him it's full. Anyway, so kind of messing around with that some today, and after that I turned my attention to this baby to get it started. And I still had to do a few things. I still had to connect the fuel line up underneath here, still had to route the throttle cable and connect it and get that kind of adjusted, and had one of my neighbors push the throttle pedal all the way down and made sure that we were getting full throttle back here, so when the owner decides to get squirrely with this thing, he's got everything that it has available. And so did all that, put oil in it, and kept priming it, and couldn't really get it to start and keep running. And so I started checking the fuel pump, because it didn't seem like it was getting gas from the fuel pump. Pulled the fuel pump, it had the correct fuel pump push rod in it, everything. I don't know, I basically bench primed the fuel pump, and saw that the fuel pump was working as it should, put it back on, and boom, it started pulling gas and filling up the carbs, and yeah, and I was able to get it started and running. So I don't know, I've never had to bench bleed or bench prime or whatever you want to call it, one of these fuel pumps before, but for whatever reason that's what this one wanted me to do, so that's what I did. So yeah, I got it running. Set the timing. This one has electronic ignition, and it's pretty hard to tell where you are doing static timing on those. I think I was like 30 degrees retarded how I had it set up, so it wasn't very happy, but it was good enough to get it running. And then from there I set it at about 10 degrees advanced at idle. Now I'll fine tune that later, but it's good enough to get it running and stuff. Kind of did like a quick and dirty preliminary sync on the carbs, again just to get it a little bit more even left to right. And the valves are a little loud, so I didn't run it for too long. So I will go on Monday when it's nice and cold, when the engine's nice and cold, and pop the valve covers, just double check the valve adjustment and stuff. And yeah, and then I have to actually do a cam break-in on this motor, which I would have done today, but again, I didn't really like that that excessive valve noise. So yeah, once I check and adjust the valves, then I'll go ahead and do the cam break-in probably Monday, and then change the oil. And then after that, man, this thing is getting close. So pretty exciting. Owner's super excited. I sent him a short video of the motor running, and he's very happy. He wants his toy, and I can't blame him, because this thing is going to be so much fun. So I think that was pretty much my day. Shop is pretty packed right now. My poor split window got the boot so that we could put this bus in, because I could have put it here, but I would have had to move this bus over, and all these parts here, except for that seat frame, are for the mouse gray bus that's still next door getting its interior. And I don't really have a good place right now to put this massive pile of parts. So it seemed kind of easier for, probably just a few days. I'm hoping to be done with this bus like midweek maybe. So just for a few days, just stuff it right there at night. And anyway, so one other thing that happened today is more paint on this car. So as of today, the fenders are painted, and at least the outside of the deck lid and the outside of the hood. So Monday he'll come and he'll paint the underside of the deck lid, underside of the hood, and then the doors. And then this paint job will be done. So that's pretty exciting. Really happy with how it's coming out. Color looks gorgeous. Paint job looks gorgeous, especially considering it hasn't been cut and buffed yet. So really, really happy with how this one's coming out. I think from now on, all our paint jobs are going to be done internally like that, instead of sending them out to the various paint shop or two that we've been kind of using that is just not as happy as I would like to be with them. So we're going to control every step of the process now, and the results will be awesome accordingly. So anyhow, guys, that is it for me. I got to go home and now do paperwork, because tomorrow we're going to go to the snow all or most of the day. That's normally when I do my paperwork. So that's going to be my late afternoon and evening, trying to catch up on QuickBooks. So that having been said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you again Monday. Bye.